What's up, guys? It's Jim, and I got a question for you. Where is our second stimulus check? Aren't we all wondering that? I mean, June is over, guys, and we still have not gotten finalized, legitimate news and an update of when we're going to see this thing, which means that puts us into July just to get this thing rolling. Honestly, July is cutting it way too close. We have another month of rent that's being due. The $600 unemployment boost is set to run out at the end of this month, and the federal eviction prevention program is set to expire. People are going to be in some serious trouble. So in this video, let's talk about what we know so far. Let's come up with a timeline of when we could expect to see another stimulus check. And let's also talk about price. How much are we going to get out of this thing? And something to look forward to at the end. It just seems to me that everybody's just kind of been stalling throughout this whole process and dragging their feet. And honestly, at this rate, it feels like we're not going to get any. However, even though it's taking a very long time and it's a really messy process, I do believe that we will be seeing another one. But before we get into that, make sure you drop a like on this video because it greatly helps out my YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it. All it takes is 2 seconds. Tap that button, click the button, destroy it, smash it, whatever you want to do, just make it turn blue. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe as well? Help grow the channel. So where do we stand with this whole thing right now? Mitch McConnell came out a few days ago and said sometime in July we will take a snapshot of where the country stands and if there is a final rescue package, when will it be developed? And that's what they're going to talk about in July. That's great, Mitch, but why are we waiting for July? Why don't we start this process now? Because we all know this process takes a very long time. I mean, it's very clear that we need more stimulus payments. All we've gotten so far is a $1,200 check, and that was back in April. So that's almost 4 months for $1,200. How much is that really? On top of that, we have more first-time unemployment filers, 1.5 million people, new filers for unemployment for the week ending in June 20th. That makes 14 consecutive weeks of new filers with over 1 million people, okay? Let that sink in for a second. And then we have President Trump talking about how there will be another stimulus wave and saying that it's gonna be very good and very generous. Right now, the HEROES Act proposed by the Democrats and has been passed by the House is offering a second round of $1,200 stimulus checks. Then we have the $2,000 monthly payment through the end of the pandemic. On top of that, we have a $4,000 temporarily travel tax credit. And finally, tax breaks for businesses as a way for people to go back to work. Now, those are all great ideas, right? But that's the thing, they're just ideas, okay? We have a long way to go with this thing before we come up with a finalized plan. But how long exactly? Well, let's come up with a time frame. Well, as of right now, we're at the end of June, which pushes us to July, just to start the planning of this whole thing. On top of that, the Senate is taking their recess from July 3rd to July 17th. This is both to do with 4th of July and also to work from their home states. Look, okay, you got work to do at your home states. That's totally fine, but I think we got to focus on more important matters here. And you may not think that's a huge deal, but hear me out on this. These processes take a very long time, okay? I mean, we're talking, they got to propose a bill. It's got to be presented and passed by the House, the Senate, and then the president sign off before it becomes a real thing. Never mind sending the checks out. So just the planning on that alone can easily take up to a month or maybe longer. So let's say the Senate doesn't take up the rescue bill until mid-July, like after the recess, okay? In order for the checks to go out in the month of August, that means the whole bill has to be finalized, signed off by the president by August 7th. Other than that, I mean, it's gonna go into September. Now, all throughout June, Mitch McConnell constantly said that July is the start date for planning the next wave of stimulus, which is a good sign, I guess, okay? It is. And he also said that this next relief package would be the last. But hey, at least we're getting another one, right? It's just that the timing of all this is just so screwed up. In my opinion, it's just taking way too long. I mean, if they start planning at the end of July for this thing and it doesn't pass and go through in August, when are you gonna see your checks? These checks, if they start rolling out in late August, early September, I mean, you're lucky if you see it in September. I mean, keep in mind here, the IRS sent out the first wave of stimulus checks in mid-April. Now we're at the end of June. It's basically July. Tomorrow's July when I'm filming this video, okay? Okay, that's almost 4 months since they started sending out the checks, and there are still tens of millions of people waiting for that money. Now, I think one important thing that nobody really touches upon is to ask the question, do we really need another stimulus check? And before you run over your keyboards or click off this video, just hear me out, okay? I mean, obviously it is clear that Americans need more financial assistance right now. I mean, we've gotten that $1,200 checks back in April. I mean, for 4 months, how far does $1,200 go? Not very far at all. But I don't think it was intended to go far to begin with, whereas the stimulus check is meant and designed to stimulate the economy rather than supplement your income. So I think that is a major reason why this is taking so long and everybody's dragging their feet on this, is because the Senate really wants to measure the impact of the first wave of stimulus money. This way they could find the results and come up with a game plan for the next wave. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that more income support is needed. However, I don't think the stimulus check is really being designed as income support or replacement. That is where the unemployment boost comes into play, where you're getting a weekly check. The stimulus check is more like a bonus to you, you know what I mean? It's designed for you to go out and spend and stimulate the economy. And that's where we get into a really tricky situation right now, because with that unemployment boost, it's definitely great and definitely helped out millions and millions of people. But at the same time, now that the country's starting to open up a little bit and everybody's trying to go back to work, it's kind of giving them the wrong incentive here, you know? It's like incentivizing people to stay home because you're making more on unemployment than you are if you're going to work. So I think the unemployment boost is a great thing, and I think that's something that's going to help the people with their income replacement, not the stimulus check. Now, as far as how much is this next wave of stimulus checks going to be, it's a little too early to tell right now, but we could come up with a pretty good idea. Right now, the $3 trillion bill passed by the House offers a $1,200 stimulus check among many other things. And then you have President Trump saying the next wave of stimulus checks is going to be very good and it's going to be very generous. So I think it's safe to say that everybody's on board here. We need another round of stimulus, and it's going to be at least $1,200. But with Trump saying that it's going to be very generous, and if you really wanted to make a big impact here, I think it may be more. That's just my opinion and speculation. I'm not really sure. Nobody knows right now, but it makes sense to me. Honestly, in my opinion, I would say a good amount would be at least $2,000, especially for the time frame we're being in. And keep in mind, guys, we're not done with this thing yet, okay? We have a long way to go with this pandemic that we're dealing with. And to say that this is going to be our last stimulus package, I think it's got to be a big one. But I don't think the stimulus check is the most important thing here. I mean, it is important, but there's going to be a lot more factors inside the whole bill when it goes through. The whole stimulus package is the big idea here, right? What else besides the stimulus check is going to help you? For instance, President Trump has mentioned several times that he's very adamant about including payroll tax cut in the next wave, the next bill. And he even said that he will not sign anything unless it includes that. Now, I did make a whole video all about the payroll tax cut, breaking it down what that would mean for you. If you guys want to go check it out, it's in the description below. Watch that after this video. Basically, the way I see it, it's going to be a more long-term, slow and steady stimulus to you. So overall, what it means is that less money will be taken out of your paycheck to go towards taxes, which will give the people an incentive to go back to work. And at the end of the day, that's what we need the most right now, is to fix the economy, right? We need people to go back to work. Now, don't get me wrong here, guys. A payroll tax cut doesn't sound nearly as exciting as getting a lump sum of $1,200 up front. However, I think it'd be very, very helpful, and here's why. I don't think we could only have a payroll tax cut. I think if we combined it, getting that lump sum of $1,200, and on top of that, having a payroll tax cut for when you go back to work would be tremendously helpful for all the people. And actually, I'd really like to get your guys' opinion on this, as I really value your feedback, because without you guys doing what you do, I can't do what I do. So go ahead right now in the comments. Let me know what you think about all this. Should we have a payroll tax cut? Should we just have a stimulus check? Should we have both? Let me know your opinion right now in the comments. Now, even though this crazy world that we're living in has just turned into a complete mess with this pandemic, I think there is something that we could look forward to here. Like I said before, the first checks rolled out in mid-April, and still today, beginning of July, there are still millions, tens of millions of people waiting for their first stimulus check. To be honest with you, I don't know why this is happening. I mean, I made a separate video on this explaining the reasons why you may not have gotten it. Check the description for that one. But it doesn't make sense to me why it's taking this long. But in my opinion, what we have to look forward to here is the second wave of stimulus checks rolling out much faster and much more smoothly. And the reason behind this is because with the first wave, the IRS was so unorganized and unprepared for this thing. Their systems could not handle it. On top of that, people did not have updated direct deposit information linked with the IRS. They had wrong addresses, and this was during the time when tax returns were still not finished filing up. So in my eyes, seeing that the IRS has all this information done already, the tax returns are done, and they have your new direct deposit information, your mailing address, and all that sort of thing, it should roll out much more smoothly in theory. On top of that, if you are one of the 4 million people who received the debit card form of stimulus checks, I'm thinking that's going to be the fastest one, because they could just upload that into that account and you're good to go. So I think that's something really good to look forward to. And I know it may not seem like a lot, but I think it's a big deal, because a lot of people waited well over a month to get your stimulus checks. And like I said again, guys, tens of millions of people are still waiting today. In my next video that I'm posting, I'm gonna be discussing what kind of an impact a second stimulus check would have on our economy. So make sure you subscribe right now and put the bell notification on. This way you don't miss out when I post that. Now on my channel, I cover everything to do with finance, investing, and entrepreneurship, and well, money. So if there's anything you guys want to talk about, then go ahead, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to make a video about it. And if you guys are interested in any of these things, want to learn how to start a business or make a side hustle or whatever it is, then you are in the right place. So go ahead and subscribe. And while you're at it, don't forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm one more time if you haven't done so already. I greatly appreciate it. I also have another YouTube channel where it's more on the personal side of things of my life, mostly revolving around cars right now, but I'm honestly open to anything and any suggestions. I really don't know where it's heading, but if you want to go check that out and see what I do outside of the studio here and talk about finance and money and stuff, then go ahead, check it out. I'll link it above right here, right now. You can click that or down in the description below. That wraps it up for today, guys. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, always leave them down below. I read and respond to everyone, and I greatly appreciate your feedback. Thanks for watching. I'm Jim Letus, and I'll see you on the next one.